Well, we just got some of the biggest Solana news that we've seen this entire year, and I want to talk a little bit today about why it's so important and what it can mean for Solana going forward. Now, before we do get into the news, I do want to make it clear that I am also frustrated with what's happening with Solana and what's happening with its chain, but I'm also not writing Solana off just because of this one occurrence that, has been much more, let's say, uncommon than what we saw back in 2021. What we're seeing from Solana right now with the network congestions and many of these transactions failing is that people are out there screaming, like, see, this is why Solana's never going to get better, blah, 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 blah. And, their criticisms and their frustrations are extremely valid, right? But what I will say is that you have to look into comparison of growth, right? And I think that's always important. You look at 2021 and how Solana was stopping every day, basically. Every other day or every day, it was just going down for at least a little while. It wasn't working. Nothing was happening, which is the reason why the ecosystem could have never thrived back then. But we went through the bear market and we've gotten to the point in which we are now, in which, yes, it is still having issues. I'm not going to say it's not. I'm not going to say it's perfect, and I never have said that. But what I will say is it's better, and that is kind of unarguable. It is better. And so, to me, yes, although frustrating, it's not like demoralizing, because in my opinion, they are still working in the general direction of progress, and as long as they're doing that, I'm fine with it, right? And so with that said, I just wanted to put that out there. For any of you wondering if I was annoyed by what's happening with Solana, yes, I am annoyed by what's happening with Solana, but it's not the end of the world. Oh well. Okay, so looking at this, let's talk about this news for today, because this shit is nuts. It says here that massive Solana liquidation by the FTX estate nets nearly $2 billion with the B dollars. This means that they've sold off almost $2 billion worth of their Solana, that in which they were holding, to these different venture capitalists and much more, like of course Galaxy Trading, Pantera Capital, Neptune Digital Assets, and more. Now, you might ask, well, why in the world did Pantera and them purchase that much? And it's quite simply because they were able to purchase it at $64 a token, basically already somewhat offering them a double on their money. Now, most of that is not unlocked at this given point, if any of it. I can't remember right now. But at the end of the day, if they are bullish on Solana, then obviously they're expecting the long-term macro outlook to be bullish, and that would entail that the price would go up. And so if the price does to some degree go up in the macro from here, they're still going to make a 2x on that money. So that $1.9 billion could be easily looking at, $3.6 to $3.8 billion over the course of, the next year or two. And so obviously, I see the benefit there. It is a bit of a risk in which they're taking, but I do like the fact that they're willing to take, nearly $2 billion risk on something like Solana, because it just kind of provides even more confidence to me about my decision to be so deep within the Solana ecosystem. Now, let's go into the news article itself, though. They say that the FTX estate unloaded over half of its Solana tokens at 63% discount from current prices, according to Bloomberg on April 5th. The sale received interest from asset managers and venture capitalists, including Galaxy Trading, Pantera Capital, which are people, of course, familiar with the matter, told Bloomberg. The bankrupt exchange sold between 25 million and 30 million locked up Solana tokens at $64 a token, which, as I mentioned before, generated around $1.9 billion for FTX creditors. It goes on to say that FTX was an early investor in Solana. Its 41 million Solana tokens are subject to a 4-year vesting schedule, meaning they cannot be traded in the market until their deadline passes. And so obviously, as I mentioned before, they're not going to be able to just go out and just dump these tokens like crazy. And I'm not quite sure that that's what they want to do, because they can now actually charge management fees for people to invest in these funds of Solana, in which they have now, right? We can see here that if you look at Galaxy Trading, they're going to be able to incur a 1% management fee for anyone who wants to invest into this $620 million Solana fund, right? And then obviously Pantera Capital is also doing something very similar. And so to me, I'm not even quite sure that they would want to sell it. They might just want to be able to make some income off of it, at least passively for a while, up until the point that they do offload it, right? Everyone sells everything at some point. I mean, that's kind of just how it goes. But it's not going to be as dramatic and drastic as what people thought from whenever, of course, FTX went bankrupt. Now, that kind of puts me into the second half of this video, in which I wanted to talk about why this is so important. And so, one thing, it's an amazing thing, just to kind of summarize, it's amazing that they made this purchase. The reason why I think it's amazing is because, one, obviously, it puts Solana in a position in which it's still a positive force within the macros, right? People are still looking at this. Some of the richest and quote-unquote smartest people in the world are looking at Solana as a long-term play still. And I like that, because with its price nearing an all-time high, kind of, people may start to say, well, it's not got much more room left to go and things like that. Where if they believe that it didn't have much more room to go, they probably wouldn't have bought it, right? Even at a 24 or a 60% discount, if they didn't think that it had that much more room to go, they might look at other opportunities within the market to say get a 3x or a 4x, and then that's going to make more money than Solana. Whereas if they do believe it's going to continue higher, then obviously it's an investment they're willing to take, and they can of course incur some management fees on top of it. So I think from a macro perspective, it's a good thing, but there's also another reason. Now, the other reason I think it's a good thing is because one of the things that has been kind of constraining Solana's price growth, at least in my opinion, over the last year from what I could tell, was people expecting on a consistent basis that these tokens would be dumped to the market. You know, we saw what's happening right now with Bitcoin, with billions of dollars pulling its price down and kind of constraining that price growth. You got to think Solana's a fraction of the size of Bitcoin at this point. And so imagine what billions of dollars of selling pressure could do to it, which obviously wouldn't happen all at once, but you get the point. And so the fact that the threat of that dumpage, right, the threat of that, huge sell pressure coming from one individualized entity, I think is going to open up the doors for some possible growth from Solana that weren't open before because people were nervous about that selling pressure. And so because of this, I do think this is all good news. I think everything about this is good. Get it the fuck away from FTX. Let's kind of separate as far away from that as we possibly can, although they do still have some tokens left. They don't have a lot of them left anymore in comparison, and so I think that this is overall a super big net positive. So I wanted to make a quick update video just letting you guys know why this news was so big and what it means for me. And of course, I will update you tomorrow on some more Solana technical analysis. So if you do enjoy these Solana videos, make sure, of course, that you always smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I will see you all next time. Peace out, everybody.